Algebra. Algebra is one of the oldest branches in history of mathematics that deals with number theory, geometry, and analysis. Algebra sometimes says that the study of the mathematical symbols and rules involves the manipulation of these mathematical symbols. Algebra helps in solving the mathematical equations and helps to determine unknown quantities like bank interest, proportions, and percentage. Algebra helps in the mathematical representation of problems or situations such as mathematical expressions. It involves variables like x, y, z, and mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division to form a meaningful mathematical expression. The purpose of algebra is to make it easy to say a mathematical connection in its equation by using letters of the alphabet or other symbols to represent objects in a form of shorthand. Algebra then enables you to substitute values to solve an equation for the unknown values. Definition of terms. A coefficient is a number used to multiply a variable. Example, 6z means 6 times z, and z is a variable, so 6 is a coefficient. A variable then is a symbol that we assign to an unknown value. It is usually represented by letters such as x, y, or t. Next, we have constant. A constant is a term in an algebraic expression that has a value that cannot change because it does not contain any changeable variables. A term can be any of the following: constant, the product of a number or simple coefficient, and a variable. Like terms are terms whose variables and their exponents are the same. In other words, terms that are like each other. On the other hand, algebraic terms which does not have the same literal coefficients and cannot be raised to the same power are called unlike terms. An algebraic expression in mathematics is an expression which is made up of variables and constants along with the algebraic operations. An algebraic equation is a mathematical sentence when two algebraic expressions are related with an equality sign. In algebra, a quadratic equation is any equation that can be rearranged in standard form as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is equal to 1. This is an example of a quadratic equation. If you are wondering why 7x raised to 2 is equal to 49 is a quadratic equation, it is because ax raised to 2 cannot be removed in a quadratic equation. However, we could remove bx and c from the equation and we can still call it a quadratic equation. The same method can also be applied to a non-monic quadratic equation. A non-monic quadratic equation is an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is not equal to 1 or 0. In this example, we can see that the first term is raised to 3 instead of 2. It can only be considered a quadratic equation if the first term is raised to 2, which means that the given example you see here is not an example of a quadratic equation. In algebra, an algebraic fraction is a fraction whose numerator and denominator are algebraic expressions. We now proceed to the properties and laws of algebra. The first one is cumulative law. It tells us that we can reorder the terms when doing addition or multiplication. In the first and second examples, this is called cumulative property because we can reorder the letters, but the last two examples are not, because in subtraction and in division, changing the order of the numbers gives different answers. Next one is the associative law. It states that in addition or multiplication, we can relate terms or factors as we please. Both the cumulative law and associative law apply to either addition or multiplication, but not a mixture of the two. Again, the first two examples is associative but the last two are not. We cannot apply the associative property to subtraction or division. We can change the groupings of numbers in subtraction or division. It changes the answer and hence this property is not applicable. Distributive law. It deals with the organization of addition and multiplication. When a sum is multiplied by a value, the value is distributed to each part of the sum. Take note, when verifying whether two algebraic expressions are equal to each other, we can either remember the relevant laws or substitute values of the variables to test whether the expressions are equal. Thus, it will help us eliminate incorrect choices. Shown here is an example of distributive law. In order to apply this law, we must first multiply the first term of the first set to the second set by distributing A to B and 4. Then, multiply the second term of the first set, which is 3, by distributing 3 to B and 4. Remember to take note of the sign operations. After that, you will get AB plus 4A minus 3B minus 12. Therefore, A minus 3 multiplied by B plus 4 is equal to AB plus 4A minus 3B minus 12. Removal of brackets. Sometimes removing brackets allows us to simplify the expressions. Brackets can be removed by using the distributive property, and this is often used in simplifying expressions. Simplifying expressions. Simplifying equation is often the first step to solving algebra equations. Some methods can be used to simplify an equation are combine like terms, multiplication, division of terms, removal of brackets, distributive property, and cross multiplication. How to simplify expressions. To simplify an algebraic expression that consists of both like and unlike terms, it might be helpful to first move the like terms together. When moving the terms, we must remember to move the positive and negative sign attached to them. Like terms can be added or subtracted from one another. Multiplication and division of terms. The coefficient and variables of terms can be multiplied or divided together in a process called simplifying equations. Multiplying expressions. To multiply expressions, you must first multiply its numbers or coefficients. Then multiply its variables. After that, you may add the exponents of the base with the same variables if there is any. Multiplying expressions are multiplied in the same way that rational fractions are multiplied. In other words, you multiply the numerators and denominators with each other. Dividing expressions. The method of dividing expressions is the same as of multiplying expressions. In order to divide the expressions, you must first reciprocate the second expression. After that, change the divide symbol by multiply symbol, then proceed to multiply expressions. Next is FOIL method. FOIL method is a handy way for everyone to remember how to multiply binomials. As seen in the example, the first step is to multiply the first terms. Next is we need to multiply the outer terms. Next is we need to multiply the inner terms. And lastly, we need to multiply the last terms. Take note, you can combine like terms in this method. Law of exponents. Law of exponents is one of the set of rules in algebra. This set of rules is very important to know. Many mathematical problems involving repeated multiplication problem processes are solved using all of the exponents rules. This simplifies the multiplication and division operations and help to solve the problems easily. Law of exponents contains product, quotient, power, zero exponent, and negative exponent. Product is the result of multiplication, or it will be an expression that identifies factors to be multiplied. Brief explanation. When we multiply the bases with the same variable, the exponents will be added together. Quotient is a quantity produced by the division of two numbers. Brief explanation. To divide an equation with exponents, Subtract the exponents of the base with the same variable. Then you may proceed to division. Power. Power is an expression that indicates the same factor for being repeated several times. Brief explanation. The power or exponent of a number says how many times to use the number in a multiplication. It is written as a small number to the right and above the base number. Zero exponent has any non-zero number raised to the power of a zero equaled 1, according to the exponent rules. Brief explanation. It is proven that any number or expression raised to the power of 0 is always equal to 1. In other words, if the exponent is 0, then the result is 1. The general form of zero exponent rules is given by a raised to 0 is equal to 1, and a over b raised to 0 is equal to 1, and 0 raised to 0 is identified. Negative exponent. A negative exponent simply signifies that the base is the incorrect side of the fraction line, and you must flip it to the correct side. Brief explanation. Tell us how many times to divide the base number. We can rewrite negative exponent like x raised to n as 1 over x raised to n. Learning the basics, properties, and rules of algebra, as well as being able to do the algebra, you should find that you are increasingly able to apply the knowledge and understanding that you have gained to mathematics in your everyday life. You should now be able to recognize technical terms and appreciate some of the uses of algebra, collect like terms and simplify expressions terms by terms, multiply out brackets, simplify formulas, and solve simple linear equations.